Hello there guys, and welcome to a brand new 852 car modeling tutorial. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and like the videos to follow the series as we go. This is going to be the fourth car modeling tutorial now as part of the channel. And the ultimate aim of this tutorial is to have a completed exterior of a Jaguar F-Type convertible and a completed interior of a convertible as well. Now we've done a few before. We've done the BMW M2 and a Lamborghini Huracan and the Koenigsegg 11. You'll find those links in the description below if you want to check those out too. Because this is the fourth in the series, I think what we're probably going to end up doing is trying to go through it a little bit quicker. It is a fairly basic shape. Famous last words are that maybe it's not going to take quite as long as the cars before. We're going to start with practically the exact same method as we have in the past, and that's going to be with a pipe here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide my image planes here. Now obviously mine's already set up. If you don't know how to add your blueprints into Maya, there is a video as well for that, which I'll link in the description too. I'll also aim to include the blueprints in the description as well. So what we're going to do with this pipe here is we are going to use this to form the wheel arch here. This is my usual starting place. What we're going to want to do is firstly we'll scale this up to something like this. Now one of the most frequently asked questions, I think I might answer this as we go inside here, is how do I find such high quality blueprints? So we can see in here we've got the pre-made 3D model. It's generally on smcars.net, or you can just simply Google Jaguar F-Type blueprints and these options will come up for you. I'm going to go into my poly pipe here and I'm going to reduce the thickness. Now let's just make this look a bit nicer here. So I'm going to reduce my thickness. I'm going to change my shading here to wireframe, and it's yeah, that'll be fine. So we're going to aim to create this portion of the wheel arch here. So I'm going to need to take this thickness down 0.2, 0.1. Okay, 0.1 doesn't look too bad. Go for 0.09. Your value may be a little bit bigger depending on the way that your scene's set up. And what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to get, I think that should be okay for the amount of topology just now. But generally what we're going to want is we're going to want to get two lines that are going to more or less meet up with this portion here. So maybe rotate that around, and maybe we're going to increase this. We'll go something like 22. Okay, so that's going to sit okay there. Side skirt 1, 2, 3. That looks like it should sit nicely across there. 3 going up the way should be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should be fine too. So we'll go with that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our faces here by right clicking and delete everything else. And we're also going to delete all of these too. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to align this up with the wheel arch on our front view, like so. And then we're just going to check it out in our top view. Okay, so we can see that actually starts to curve really early, which isn't a big deal. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to kind of reflect a curve, an accurate curve in this too. Now what a lot of people may do when they're building their cars is not really focus too much on the contours and then end up with a fairly flat side of the car here, but we want to make sure that we're getting all of our edges in place first. Now before we do anything else, I'm just going to pull these points into position here. Maybe move this up to help with the flow there. I'll put this one in too. So I'm going to line those points there with the creases, And then let's get this one in position as well. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining the curve of this wheel arch quite nicely. Okay, so we've got a little bit of trim under there. And then we can align these as well. Now it's important to stay on one side of these creases for now, because we will be creating a base mesh, which is going to lay out the whole of the car. And then from that base mesh we'll be extracting the individual panels. So that there's looking pretty good. So what we want to do now is we want to make this car here match the curvature that we have around here. So we're going to grab all these points in, something like this, and make sure that they're just going with the flow all the way up this edge. Okay. We can see that this one actually flows quite a bit even up here. A lot of the time they'll have stopped by this point. Oops. So it looks like we're going to go something like that down the front. Now the tough bit is going down the back here. Now what I'm going to do real quick, let's just get some wireframe on here. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to put in a fake wheel, because what you're going to need to do, one of the key points of modelling a car is making sure that you've got all the required and relevant reference images. So judging by the reference images that I have on here on my computer, let's just bring this out there. So that's flowing up there quite nicely. But judging by the reference images that I have, if I cycle through them here just now, my second screen, we have quite a lot of curvature to this as well. So what we're going to want to do is, it looks to me like it's going to be maybe something like that. And then it's a fairly smooth line, maybe up until about that point there. I want to make sure this is a nice smooth curve as well. Go something like that. Maybe here. Now it's always important to pay as much attention to the starting process as possible, because whilst we've got very little mesh on this car, it's going to be far easier for us to do some real work on this. Now it looks like we're going to want to now extrude these elements in. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our edge option, and for now I'm just going to work on and around the front bumper, and then we'll work our way up and around the car. What we're going to want to do is select these edges here. We're going to hit Ctrl E. To those who aren't using Maya, we're just going to extrude this. And we're going to extrude it into this point here. So we're just going to go to about there, and then we can pull up as well. So we can see that that is now coming around there quite nicely. But what we need to consider on here, again, let's get our X-ray up here, is that we want this to flow around with the actual contour of the car. So we can see in our top view that we've got this contour running down here. So we're going to get that aligning up with that. We can also see on the front how that's going to sit too. So that's looking pretty good. Now what we'll want to do is just maybe adjust this point. Okay. a little bit high here. That's not going to be an issue just now. Sometimes blueprints don't line up 100%, but that's okay. Now we need to have a think about the plan for our geometry here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move this point up so it's a little bit straighter. Now we're moving this point, we need to make sure that we go into our front view here and make sure that we're still running along the line that we should be. So we can pull that out just a little bit just to make sure we keep that curvature just there. And then we'll grab the insert edge loop tool and we're going to drop that just about here. And again, we want to make sure that we're not hindering anything there. So we'll add a little bit of curve, and maybe here we'll add a little bit of curve too. And what we're going to do first, I think, is we're going to take this here, we're going to hit Ctrl E, we're going to take that right out here to its furthest point. And we'll bring this down into position, something like that. And then we're going to take this all the way inside here. Okay. So we can see now that that's brought it out at a little bit of an angle for us, which is fine. Now, what we'll do as well is we're going to grab this face and we're going to hit Ctrl E, and again we're going to pull this out here for our extrusion, and we are going to pull this all the way along over here and here, and then we're going to make sure that we're coming up and around here as far as we need to. Okay. Now I am going to pull these points here up, and the reason for that is because we're going to want to follow the underside of that point there, and again need to make sure we're maintaining here, and in doing so I'm going to grab these points here and I'm going to move these up as well into the center, because these are going to play into this center point here. And again, on our front view, we're just going to make sure that we haven't distorted that line there. At the top here, we're going to bring all of this down, and this is going to be what is going to run along the top of this portion. And again, it's just a case of going backwards and forwards for those who've never modeled a car before or anything substantial before. So we've got that in position there. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to need to insert an edge loop, and we're going to drop one just here, and we're going to want to use this to follow the kind of flow of the car, so we can see that everything's kind of coming down this way, so we want this line to do the same. And I'm going to use the multi-cut tool here to continue this line all the way down onto this portion here. Okay, so what's going to happen, maybe it's a bit too far. Okay, so what's going to happen is this and this is going to join together. Before we do that, we're going to need to make sure that we can see here that this line is almost in line. If we pull this back a little, this line is almost in line with what we have there, but it's not on our front. So we're going to pull it into position, and we also want to make sure we're following that same angle that we have on this side here. Okay. Now with this point here, we're going to maybe want to pull this down a little bit, ever so slightly there. We put it towards here as well, and we're going to need to do the same. So this is going to want to come out just a little bit there as well, so we're getting a little bit of curve to this point. So let's see, maybe something like that. Okay, so we can see that this kick out down here is a little bit more severe than what we have up there, so that's fine. Now, simply we're just going to grab these 2 points and we will bridge. And then inside here we can go to mesh and we'll fill the hole there. That should allow us inside here as well, just to help give a bit more shape to that front section. That's looking good. We will get a bit more information in here as well at some point, but it's important at first to work with a fairly basic mesh. So let's grab these here. I'm going to hit Control E. I'm going to take, looks like I've got something selected down here we don't want. So I'll grab these points here. I'm going to hit Control E and bring them out here, roughly to the edge of that point, and then we can do the same here. And what we're going to need to do is we are going to want to grab this bottom vertices. With our movement tool, I'm going to hold V. I'm going to snap that to this point here, select them both, in a mesh, and merge. So now those 2 vertices have become just the one. We're going to want this to kind of flow around the edge here. I'm actually going to bring this a little bit higher. And we're going to need to bring this one a little bit lower. Then we're going to want to make sure that we're reflecting that same shape on there. Okay, so far we're looking pretty decent. With this point up here, we're probably going to want to come down to just under the headlight. So maybe bring this out to something like that. And then our 2 edges up here, I'm going to want to firstly make sure that this has maybe a little bit of curvature to it, so it's going to run up here. You can grab this one again, hold V, snap to it, and then we can merge these 2 together. And then it's just a case of pulling these down and into position on our side view. So if we go something like that, and that, and then just make sure that they're flowing nicely over here. And it's just really a case of pulling all the points until they're flowing quite nicely. Okay, so far so good. Doesn't really look like too much just now. What we'll do is we'll continue now to work up and around. Let's get our wireframe on here too so we can see. So we'll grab these edges here. I'm going to hit Control E, take them along here. And we're going to want these now to sit nicely along the edge of our headlight here. Now what we could do is, it looks like all around here is looking fairly smooth. So what I'll actually do is I'm going to delete this face here. Let's just take these 2. And we're going to need to obviously make sure that they're sitting nicely over here. So bring those over there, something like that. Maybe bring that one up a little bit there. And then we'll maybe grab the edge here. And we're just going to extrude down and around. And then I'm going to grab these vertices here. so we can drop a point there, and then we'll bring this something like that. And we can drop a point here, and this can come down here to start to think about that line there. And then obviously we want this to sit as it should around here. Okay, so wanting the same kind of angles to reflect around there as we do in order to get that 3D shape. This will allow us now to grab these. I'll hit Ctrl E, and we can grab this point. I'm going to hold V and snap that to it. This down here, and then this over here onto that point. Maybe bring these forward here as well. So maintaining a nice shape. It looks like maybe here I want this to be a little bit more forward. So it's a case of just going back onto these points and just making sure that they're flowing nicely. Do something like that. Okay, that's looking good. I think what we'll do is we'll insert a new loop down here. We'll maybe do it so it's just at the bottom of this point here, so that can go up there and match that section. And then in doing so, we're just going to want to pull that out a little bit there, just so it's not completely straight. Okay, so jump in here now, we'll grab these points, and we're going to hit Ctrl E again. And we'll take it all the way to the edge of this center point here. So maybe the best place would be something like that. Okay. And then we'll make sure that in our view here, we're going to the same point. Now what I think we might actually do instead is let's go to here. This is more of the end of the intakes there. Okay, so far so good. Now, when we're building 3D cars, it's generally a little bit of a slow burner. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to chap away at these points. Sometimes it can take quite some time before it even starts to look how we want it to. So we'll grab that there. And then we'll start to use this to go up and around the headlight. Whereas this is going to become part of the kind of front grille. So we'll do something like that. Then what we'll do is we'll grab this edge here, and we're going to hit Ctrl E again, and we're just going to hit that maybe twice for now. And this is going to follow all the way up and around this headlight here, like so. We do have a little bit of a crease inside here, so we don't want to go all the way up to it. And then we do have a crease. We can't really see it on the image here, but up the hood on the bonnet we do have another crease that runs up there, so this is going to help us facilitate that too. We'll need to do something like that. And then we could maybe hit Ctrl E one more time and we'll take it up here. Go up and around like so. we're going to need to make sure now that we're sitting pretty just around here. So it's just really a case of pulling these along the x-axis to get them in position. Okay, so we're going up and around the light there, which is fine. Now, what we may need here is we're going to probably need another line across this point. So I'm going to insert another edge loop. I'm going to drop that just here. And again, we want to make sure that we're forming quite nicely. We're not just sitting as we are. We want to get some curvature into this. Especially here. And this should actually allow us to bring maybe this a little bit higher, because we don't want these elements of this wheel arch to be too close together, because that'll end up affecting the curve that we have there. And we just want to make sure we're still on our curve nicely at the front here, which I think we are. Yeah, that should be fine. So this extra line inside here now is going to help us kind of facilitate this point here. Now, what we'll need to do is we'll want to make sure that these are coming all the way out here. Okay, so we'll do something like that. And what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to grab the edge here, hit Ctrl E again, and we're just going to pull it across. And this is going to basically make now the front section, which goes all the way up and around the what looks like the large radiator intake here, large grill. And what we'll do with this is we are going to grab the edge here. I'm going to hit Ctrl E, and we're going to need to be mindful of the geometry that we already have. So here we already have a line, so we're going to stop around here. I'm going to hit Ctrl E again, and we're going to go down here. Now this is going to be a little bit different because we have more to add. And we'll go down and around here. And once we've extruded, we need to get these edges kind of forming around here. And then we want to be a fairly consistent width all the way as well. These ones maybe want to be a bit higher. And our ultimate aim here is to smooth these off. So it doesn't matter too now if it's a little bit jaggy, because when it comes to the smoothing, it's not going to be too bad. At this point, we're going to want to make sure we're still sat on the actual line. So we can see that we do cut end down here. Like so, so starting to get that nice shape going around here. And then it's just going to be a case of just extruding all the way around here to the center. Now because we're going to be mirroring this geometry, we're going to hold X. I'm going to snap this to the center point, and again we want to make sure we're sat on here. Now what we'll do is we'll probably add more points as we go around here. But the fewer points we have just now means the easier it's going to be to align it, because we can pull this all the way around like so. And then we can add an edge loop inside here, so we'll drop one just like there. And we can pull that into space, and then we'll do one more at the bottom here. Pull that around too. And then we're going to do the same treatment to the top again. being mindful of the geometry we already have, because we don't want to be adding too much geometry or topology at this point. So maybe just go for 3 along there just now, because everything we do add we need to be mindful about what's going to be coming. So we've got here, which will link nicely to there. Maybe go here, because that's going to give us a nice line to run up. Or maybe go a little bit closer, because we'll need to be mindful of the vents on the hood. We also want to make sure we're maintaining shape up here. So let's grab these points. Bring them around like so. And again, we'll snap these here to the center. Okay. And then we're going to insert a few edge loops. Now we have a crease that's going to come down here. So we'll drop one in just there. And the top view here will be a good one to match up to. We've got, we'll go one here, which is going to help maintain that crease. And then we'll do one more just in between here for good luck, and which will align with that vent up there. Pull that out here. Now let's use our top view here to get a better idea of how these lines here should be sitting, like so. We can pull these out as well, just so that they're, because we can see here that even though we're looking like we're aligned there, we're not actually out very far at that lower point. So see, that's fine. Well, maybe pull these out a bit more, and these out a bit more, so we're getting that shape in there as well. Okay, so far not too bad. What we can do is we can grab the edge of each of these points, each of these edges should I say, and we're going to extrude these up, and we want these here just to kind of sync with what we already have, which is going to be this line across here. So pull up on that point, and then we will bring in over here. Now all of these look a little bit low. Let's just grab all these. We're going to have to try and meet in the middle of our blueprints here, because it does look like maybe we're not syncing perfectly, but that should be fine. Okay, so we'll go along there like that. Then we can grab these here, I'm going to hit V, and we're going to snap this one down here. And then we'll snap this one over here. And what we'll do is we're going to want to maybe pull these, each of these up a little bit. We want to kind of maintain the same curve that we have down there. And then we're going to really want to make sure that we're curving nicely along here, which we are. We maybe want to add a bit more up there, like so. Okay. And then here, it looks like at this point we need to be moving over there, because it does look like at about this point, what we'll do is we'll grab these elements here, and we'll take them all the way up to the bonnet line. Like so. And we'll merge over here. So we know that's in the right spot. We're going to maybe start pulling over to the side here as well. So everything's kind of moving up in this direction. So we'll start to move something like that. Okay, so each of these here, I want to pull these down a bit, like so. Got that in line just there. We're going to insert an edge loop just down here. This edge loop is going to help us match the curve of the bonnet, like so. And we can hold V and we'll snap that in there and merge the two together. So we're looking pretty good. And then for this point here, we're going to grab this, we're going to hit Ctrl E, and we are going to take this up here, because this is going to be the start of the scooped section. And we'll need to insert an edge loop just in here. Just like so, just a very small start. It does get a little bit more defined as we go. Go up to the hood here. Yeah, so it looks like the blueprints are a little bit dodgy, but it's not too bad just now. Want that to be over here, and that to be over there. And we are gonna grab these two edges here, and we are going to bridge, and then inside here we're going to mesh, and we will fill the hole. Okay, so I think we'll stop that episode just here. It's getting quite long now. What we can do is we can grab the point, hit Ctrl D, Ctrl G, and I'm just going to scale -1 in our x-axis. So we see now that we're starting to get a half decent shape laid out all across the front of this car here. We can go around the side too. So in the next episode, I think what we'll do is we'll continue to work around the vents. We'll maybe have a look at the inside of the front bumper, grill bit here, and then the bit that bridges across. Alright guys, cool.